started like a normal evening. The sun had gone down, and cities across Earth glowed with lights. People filled the streets, restaurants were busy, families were watching TV, and lovers walked under the stars. Everything was ordinary. Everything was calm. But then, the stars began to vanish. At first, people thought it was clouds, a storm moving across the night sky. But the shapes were too sharp, too straight. They were not clouds. They were shadows, huge shadows, darker than the night itself. The first person to notice was a child in South America. He pointed at the sky and cried, "The stars are broken." His mother looked up and froze. All around the world, more people tilted their heads back, and their hearts filled with the same fear. Above Earth, ships appeared. One by one, massive warships slipped out of the darkness, glowing with cold blue lights. Their hulls were so large they looked like floating mountains. They spread across the heavens until the stars were completely gone. The night sky was no longer a sky. It was a ceiling of alien steel. In New York, drivers abandoned their cars in the middle of the road. In Beijing, millions crowded the streets, staring upward in silence. In Cairo, prayers rose into the air, mixing with shouts of terror. Across the oceans, fishermen looked up and dropped their nets, their boats shaking from the vibration of alien engines. Fear moved faster than light. Television screens and mobile phones lit up with the same images, warships covering Earth, blocking out the moon. News anchors tried to speak, but their voices trembled. Words like first contact and invasion filled the air. Then a sound came. It was not thunder, but it felt like thunder. It rattled glass and shook the ground. A deep, metallic voice spread across the entire planet, carried by alien transmitters that reached every ear, every speaker, every device. Humans of Earth, your world belongs to the Galactic Fleet. Kneel or be destroyed. The voice was cold. It was final. It was merciless. Silence followed. And then chaos exploded. Some people screamed. Some ran into the streets. Some fell on their knees and prayed for mercy. Soldiers rushed to bases. Governments scrambled to hide in bunkers. Children cried as parents tried to comfort them with empty words. The world had faced wars, plagues, disasters, but nothing like this. This was the end. Or so it seemed. Far away, in a desert base hidden beneath the sand, a small group of humans watched the sky through cameras and monitors. They saw the same ships everyone else saw, but their faces did not show panic. Instead, a strange smile appeared on their lips. One of them, an old soldier with scars across his cheek, leaned back in his chair. "So they finally came," he whispered. A scientist beside him adjusted her glasses, her hands steady. "They think we are weak." The youngest of them, barely out of training, swallowed nervously. "Should we prepare the countermeasures?" The soldier's smile widened. "Not yet. Let them think we are afraid. Let them make the first mistake." Above Earth, the alien fleet shifted. Their ships moved like predators circling prey. Beams of white light cut through the sky, striking oceans and mountains. The water boiled, forests burned, and cities shook. The aliens were not attacking fully, only showing what they could do. They wanted fear. They wanted surrender. In the commander's throne room, high aboard the flagship, the alien leader stood tall. His armored body glistened in the dim light, and his burning eyes scanned the blue planet below. Around him, officers hissed in alien tongues, their claws tapping control panels. "The humans are panicking, Supreme Commander," one officer reported. "They are divided. Their leaders hide. Their weapons are primitive." The commander smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Good. Then Earth will fall in one day." But he was wrong, because humans were not only afraid. They were angry. In homes and streets, men and women clenched their fists. In secret bases, generals whispered commands. In labs hidden deep underground, scientists activated weapons that no alien had ever seen before. Humans had always been underestimated by stronger empires, by greater powers, by forces that thought mankind would break. But humans had a strange habit. They never gave up. The alien voice echoed again, "Bow before us!" And then, for the first time, humanity answered. A single voice came across the radio waves. Calm, confident, not begging, not afraid. "Welcome to Earth." Billions heard it. Billions repeated it. And slowly, as the night sky filled with ships, the first sparks of courage lit inside human hearts. The galaxy thought Earth was trembling. But in the shadows, humanity was smiling. The sky was no longer the sky. It was a roof of alien steel. The stars that once gave people comfort were gone. Now there was only darkness, broken by the glow of warships. Humanity had never felt so small. Panic spread across Earth like wildfire. In New York, people ran through the streets, colliding with each other, their faces pale with terror. Cars crashed into one another as drivers abandoned their wheels, looking only at the sky. Helicopters circled, broadcasting live images of the alien fleet, giant ships floating like gods above the clouds. In Paris, the great bells of Notre Dame rang, not because of prayer, but because of the tremors shaking the ground. People filled the churches, falling to their knees, whispering prayers through tears. "Save us! Please save us!" They begged, but their voices were drowned by the thunder of alien engines. In Tokyo, neon lights flickered as power grids failed. Entire districts went dark. From the silence came screams, parents clutching children, businessmen rushing into subways, elders staring upward with broken hearts. The city that had survived earthquakes, fires, and wars now looked fragile beneath the shadow of the fleet. In small villages across Africa, elders gathered their people and looked at the ships with ancient eyes. "They are not gods," one elder said, though his voice trembled. "They are invaders." Children clung to their mothers, listening to the strange humming that filled the night air. Everywhere, governments tried to speak to their people, but their voices shook with fear. Presidents and prime ministers stood before cameras, urging calm, but their eyes betrayed the truth. They were powerless. Their armies were useless against such power. Inside the United Nations chamber, diplomats shouted over each other. "We must surrender," one voice cried. "No, we must fight," shouted another. The room was chaos, with no plan, no agreement. And then the alien voice came again. "Humans of Earth, you are insects standing before giants. Surrender now, or your cities will burn." The words struck harder than bombs. They rolled across Earth, heavy and merciless. Children cried. Soldiers clenched their rifles. Old men and women wept, saying they had lived long enough and did not want to see the end. Fear was not just in the streets. It was in the hearts of billions. But something else was happening too. In a hidden bunker under London, generals studied maps of the skies. Their hands trembled, but not from fear, from excitement. "They underestimate us," one whispered. "Let them think we are broken. They will regret it." In a secret lab under the Pacific Ocean, scientists worked in silence. Strange machines hummed, weapons unknown to the galaxy were armed. A woman in a white coat stared at the screens and said quietly, "They believe we are weak. They don't know humanity." In Siberia, soldiers gathered around their commander. Snow fell silently as he lit a cigar, staring up at the alien fleet. "They want us to kneel," he said. "But Siberians don't kneel." His men laughed bitterly, gripping their rifles tighter. Across the deserts of the Middle East, Bedouin tribes gathered under the night sky. One young warrior raised his hand toward the ships. "They think they can scare us. They don't know we have lived under burning suns and endless storms." Fear is nothing new. Fear was everywhere, yes, but hidden inside that fear was something dangerous. Hope. The alien commander could not see it. He looked down from his throne room and saw only chaos. To him, humans looked like animals running in circles. His officers hissed with pleasure, believing Earth had already fallen. "Commander," one of them said, bowing, "the humans are breaking. They will submit." The commander smiled, his teeth sharp and cruel. "Good. Soon they will kneel, and then their planet will belong to us." But he was blind. He did not see the fire building in human eyes. He did not hear the whispered promises in hidden rooms. He did not understand the strange madness of this species, a madness that made them fight even when hope was gone. Back on Earth, in the desert base, the old scarred soldier poured himself a drink. He raised his glass toward the screen showing the alien fleet. "To our uninvited guests," he said with a grin. The young recruit beside him frowned. "Sir, aren't you afraid?" The soldier chuckled. "Of course I am. But fear doesn't control me. It feeds me. That's the human way." The scientist next to them typed into her console, her eyes never leaving the data. "They don't know what's coming." The recruit swallowed, still nervous. "What if we lose?" The soldier leaned closer, his voice low but firm. "Kid, humanity doesn't lose. We adapt. We break. We bleed. But we don't lose." At that very moment, across the planet, scattered voices began to rise. A firefighter in New York shouted to his crew, "We've survived worse. Let's keep going." A mother in Africa whispered to her crying child, "Don't be afraid. Your people are strong." A young girl in India looked up at the ships and whispered, "You don't scare me." Fear had spread, yes. But now something else spread just as fast, defiance. The galaxy thought Earth would kneel. Instead, Earth began to stand. The fleet did not move for hours. The warships floated above Earth like silent mountains in the sky. They were so many, so huge, that people forgot what the moon even looked like. Night had turned into a prison of steel. Governments tried to talk to each other, but signals were jammed. Radios carried only static. Satellites blinked and then went dark. The aliens controlled everything. The planet's most powerful nations were blind and deaf, forced to watch the sky with helpless eyes. And then the message came. A wave of sound rolled across Earth. Every device, TVs, phones, radios, even the smallest speaker in a child's toy, turned on by itself. The same deep, alien voice filled every corner of the world. "Humans of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Fleet. Your species is weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your history is filled with war and failure. You are not fit to rule yourselves. You will surrender." The voice was calm, but behind it was cruelty. Images appeared in the sky. Not clouds, not lights, but projections beamed down by alien ships. People across Earth looked up and saw the alien commander. His body was covered in black armor, his eyes burning like two suns. Behind him stood rows of alien soldiers, tall and merciless, their claws sharp as blades. He raised one claw and spoke again. "You will kneel before the Empire. Your leaders will hand over this world. Your armies will lay down their weapons. If you resist, your cities will burn. We have destroyed greater races than yours. Do not imagine you are special." The images disappeared. The voice fell silent, but the echo of his words stayed in every heart. In the streets of Mexico City, people screamed and fell to their knees. In Moscow, old women crossed themselves and prayed. In Sydney, riots began as crowds pushed through the streets, desperate for answers. But in some corners of the world, silence followed. Not of fear, but of thought. Inside a bunker in Washington, generals stared at each other. One whispered, "They think we're finished." In Beijing, a scientist clenched her fists. "Primitive? Let's show them primitive." In the desert base, the scarred soldier smirked. Finally, the speech. The young recruit swallowed hard. "They're calling us insects. What if they're right?" The soldier leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Kid, they don't know what an insect can do when it's cornered." Above Earth, the alien commander waited for surrender. His officers hissed and bowed, certain that humans would beg for mercy. But what happened next stunned even the galaxy. On an open frequency, a human voice spoke back. At first, it was only static. Then, clear and steady, a calm voice said, "Is that it? That's your great speech." The words echoed across Earth and into the fleet. People everywhere stopped. Soldiers in bunkers froze. Mothers holding children lifted their heads. The world held its breath. The alien commander's eyes narrowed. "Who dares speak?" he thundered. The human voice did not tremble. You come here, call us weak, call us insects. You think your size makes you strong. But you forgot something. Humanity doesn't scare easy. You should know, we've heard worse threats before. From each other. Billions listened in silence. The fear in their hearts shifted into surprise, then into something else. The voice continued. So you want us to kneel? You want us to beg? You'll be waiting a long time. Because we don't bow. Not to kings. Not to empires. And certainly not to you. The alien fleet's comms crackled with confusion. Officers hissed to their commander. They are mocking us. This is impossible. They should be broken. The commander growled, his armored fists clenching. Find this human. Crush them. But it was too late. The words were already spoken. Across Earth, people repeated them in whispers. From the darkest slums to the tallest towers, from small villages to mighty capitals, the phrase began to spread like fire. We don't bow. In London, crowds shouted it in the streets. In Rio, children painted it on walls. In Africa, warriors raised their fists to the sky and roared it. For the first time since the fleet arrived, humanity felt something stronger than fear. The alien commander could not understand it. His fleet had conquered dozens of worlds before. Every time, the enemy begged for mercy. Every time, the enemy collapsed in fear. But these humans, they laughed. The scarred soldier in the desert base raised his glass again and grinned. Now it begins. The young recruit, still shaking, looked at him. Do you think we can win? The soldier's eyes hardened. We don't need to win yet. We just need to fight. That's enough to scare them. Far above Earth, in his throne room, the alien commander stared down at the planet. For the first time, doubt scratched at his pride. The message had been sent. The demand had been made. But the humans had answered in a way no species ever had before. They had smiled. The alien commander had expected silence after his threat. He had expected begging, surrender, tears. Instead, what he heard was laughter. The human voice over the comms had been calm, confident, almost mocking. It was the first crack in his pride. In his throne room, the commander's claws scraped against the arm of his chair. His eyes burned with anger. They think they are strong, he hissed. They will learn. But down on Earth, in hidden places, humans were preparing in ways no alien could understand. In the cold oceans, far beneath the waves, massive doors opened. From the darkness, long steel shapes began to move. Submarines, silent predators of the deep, slid into the currents. For decades, they had been only weapons for war between nations. Now, for the first time, they were united, ready to strike at the sky. On mountain ranges, hidden hangars opened. Strange aircraft, sleek and sharp, rose from their shelters. Some were experimental, never before tested in real combat. But humanity had always been reckless with courage. Pilots strapped themselves in, their faces pale but their eyes burning with determination. In deserts, under the sands, silos awoke. Missiles waited in silence, their engines hungry for fire. Soldiers stood watch with hands steady, waiting for the order they knew would come. But Earth's strength was not only in machines. It was in its people. In Tokyo, engineers worked through the night, connecting broken power grids, turning satellites back online with desperate genius. They were tired, hungry, but they refused to stop. In Berlin, hackers flooded networks, creating new codes to jam alien signals. They control our skies, one of them whispered, but let's see if they can control our minds. In Cairo, doctors gathered in empty stadiums, preparing for the wounded they knew would come. They stacked supplies, sharpened blades, and whispered prayers, ready to save whoever they could. Everywhere, ordinary humans, farmers, teachers, shopkeepers, found small ways to resist. Some carried water to soldiers. Some opened their homes to strangers. Some simply stood tall, refusing to bow even when the sky itself seemed to demand it. The aliens did not see this. From orbit, Earth still looked broken. Crowds still screamed, leaders still hid, and cities still trembled under the shadow of the fleet. To the commander, it looked like weakness. But he did not know humanity. Human history was not written by surrender. It was written by survival. For every empire that had tried to break them, for every disaster that had tried to erase them, humanity had always found a way to endure. And in that endurance, they had discovered something stronger than fear: creativity. In a dusty workshop in South America, a group of mechanics worked by candlelight. They had no weapons, no missiles, only old trucks and scrap metal. But with sparks flying and tools clanging, they built something new: armored vehicles, crude but deadly. In Africa, tribes who had lived for centuries under open skies gathered. They had no lasers, no warships, only courage and the knowledge of their land. They spoke to each other in quiet voices, planning ambushes, traps, and tricks that had fooled armies before. In India, students hacked drones meant for farming. They reprogrammed them to carry explosives, turning tools of peace into weapons of war. In Russia, old veterans dug up weapons buried since forgotten wars. Rusted, outdated, maybe useless, but to them every bullet mattered. Everywhere, humanity adapted. Every weakness became a weapon. Every failure became fuel. In the desert base, the scarred soldier watched the news feeds. He saw riots, he saw fear, but he also saw something else. He pointed at the screen and grinned. "Look," he said to the recruit beside him. "Do you see it?" The recruit frowned. "I see chaos. I see people running." The soldier shook his head. "No. Look closer. They're not just running. They're organizing. They're planning. This is what humans do. We take fear, and we turn it into fire." The scientist added softly, "The aliens don't know what's coming. They see a world in panic. They don't see the hands building weapons, the minds creating strategies, the hearts that refuse to die." The recruit swallowed. His fear did not vanish, but something else replaced it: hope. Far above Earth, the alien commander ordered his fleet to prepare for attack. His officers hissed with excitement. They believed the humans were already finished. But down below, hidden in shadows, buried in oceans, and rising from mountains, the hidden strength of humanity was waking. It was not just the weapons, not just the machines. It was the unity. For the first time in history, the nations of Earth were not divided. Flags still flew, but borders no longer mattered. Humanity stood as one, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And in that unity, they discovered their greatest weapon. The aliens saw a weak world, but what was coming was something the galaxy had never faced before: a united humanity. The night sky was still filled with ships. Fear was still everywhere. But beneath the fear, something stronger was rising. Strength, creativity, defiance, the hidden strength of mankind. And when it finally revealed itself, the galaxy would never forget. The night was heavy with silence. Billions of humans waited, holding their breath. The alien fleet floated above, endless and cold, like gods looking down on insects. Then, without warning, the sky split with fire. A blinding beam of energy shot down from one of the alien warships. It struck the Pacific Ocean, boiling the water in seconds. A wall of steam rose miles into the air. Cities along the coast shook as waves crashed into them. The message was clear: submit or burn. People screamed. Leaders begged for time. Soldiers braced themselves. And in the desert base, the scarred soldier finally stood. "It begins," he whispered. The alien commander gave his order: destroy one of their cities. Let the others see their weakness. The officers hissed with pleasure. On their screens, a target was chosen: Manila, a city of millions. Weapons locked. Energy cannons charged. But before the aliens could fire, something unexpected happened. From the ocean depths, steel monsters awoke. Submarines, silent for hours, now opened their hatches. Missiles rose out of the water, cutting through the night sky like angry comets. They streaked toward the fleet. The alien commander blinked in surprise. They dare? Explosions lit the heavens. One of the smaller warships burst into flames. Another shook violently, its shields cracking. It was the first time in centuries that the Galactic Fleet had been touched by a so-called primitive world. Across Earth, people saw it. On screens, in the skies above their homes, they saw alien ships burning. For the first time, the cries of fear turned into cheers. The aliens answered with fury. Dozens of warships opened fire. Bolts of energy rained down like meteors. Entire forests ignited. Highways melted. Buildings collapsed. But humans fought back. From mountain ranges, hidden hangars released their secret weapons. Jets, drones, and experimental fighters roared into the sky. Some were fast, some were clumsy, but all were deadly. Pilots screamed into radios, "For Earth!" and launched missiles that tore into alien armor. Over the deserts, ground-to-air missiles rose from silos buried under the sand. Their trails lit up the night, striking alien frigates with thunder. In orbit, satellites that once carried only communication signals were turned into weapons. Lasers fired from unexpected places, cutting across alien shields. The alien commander snarled, "How can insects bite?" On the ground, chaos was everywhere. In cities, people ran for shelter as alien blasts fell. Firefighters carried children through the smoke. Soldiers dragged the wounded to safety. Doctors in makeshift tents worked under flashing skies, blood on their hands, determination in their eyes. Yet, even in chaos, humans refused to break. In New York, a group of civilians climbed onto rooftops, waving makeshift mirrors into the sky to blind alien scouts. In small villages, farmers turned tractors into weapons, blocking alien drones from advancing. The world looked broken, but the spirit of mankind glowed brighter with every strike. In the desert base, the young recruit trembled as reports flooded in. "We're losing cities. We can't hold them." The scarred soldier did not look afraid. His eyes were locked on the sky. "Look again, kid. Do you see it? We're fighting. That's what matters. We're fighting, and they didn't expect it." The scientists typed furiously, sending codes to hidden systems. "They thought we would surrender. Instead, we are showing them teeth." Another alert flashed on the screen. An alien destroyer was falling, flames ripping across its hull as human missiles tore through it. The base shook with cheers. The young recruit's fear cracked into a smile. We actually hit them." The soldier grinned back. "Not just hit them. We made them bleed." Above Earth, the alien commander roared as another warship exploded. Fire and metal scattered across the atmosphere. His pride was burning as brightly as his ships. "Crush them all," he shouted. But no matter how many blasts he ordered, the humans kept fighting. Missiles from the seas, fighters from the skies, lasers from the ground, even stones and bullets from the desperate. Every human weapon, big or small, was aimed upward. And for the first time in the history of the Galactic Fleet, an invasion was not easy. In the streets of Paris, as alien drones descended, a young girl lifted her face to the fire-filled sky. Around her, neighbors whispered the words that had begun spreading days ago. "We don't bow." The phrase grew louder. People shouted it in unison, even as the city shook. It became a roar, a battle cry. And somewhere far away, a human voice broke back into the alien frequency. Calm, confident. "You wanted our answer. Here it is. Welcome to your first real fight." The first contact battle was not clean. Cities burned. Lives were lost. The earth trembled. But through smoke and fire, one truth became clear. Humanity would not go quietly. They would fight. They would adapt. They would resist. And with every explosion in the sky, with every alien ship that burned, the galaxy learned something new. The humans were dangerous. The first battle had painted the skies with fire. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and millions cried out in fear. The Galactic Fleet rained destruction from above, certain that Earth would collapse. For a while it seemed true. Buildings crumbled, roads cracked, and smoke covered the heavens. But then, something changed. In the Pacific Ocean, the waves parted as hidden submarines launched another volley of missiles. These were not ordinary weapons. Modified by desperate engineers, they carried warheads designed to pierce even alien shields. The missiles struck hard, tearing holes into a massive cruiser. Flames lit the sea as the giant ship fell, crashing into the ocean with a roar. On every television and screen that still worked, people saw it. An alien ship destroyed by human hands. The cheers were louder than the screams. For the first time since the invasion began, hope was louder than fear. The alien commander slammed his claw against his throne. "Impossible," he roared. His officers hissed nervously, their confidence cracking. Never before had their fleet lost so many ships to a primitive world. But the humans were not fighting like other races. They did not stand in neat lines or follow predictable tactics. They fought like shadows, striking from unexpected places. In the mountains of South America, hidden artillery fired from caves, disappearing before alien scanners could lock on. In the deserts of the Middle East, guerrilla fighters lured alien drones into traps, using mirrors and smoke to confuse their sensors before striking with old rockets. In the skies above Europe, experimental jets, machines built in secret projects, twisted and turned faster than alien ships expected. Human pilots laughed into their radios as they struck from behind, using tricks no alien had ever seen. The alien commander growled, "They are chaotic. They are wild. Crush them all." But chaos was humanity's strength. In New York, civilians had once run in fear. Now they climbed rooftops with mirrors and lights, blinding alien scouts. In small villages across Asia, children carried messages between fighters when networks failed. Old farmers loaded their hunting rifles and aimed at alien drones. Every hand, every mind, every heart became part of the war. Humanity was no longer just surviving. Humanity was fighting back. Inside the desert base, the young recruit's hands shook as he read the reports. "Sir, we are destroying them. Not all, but enough." The scarred soldier grinned, his teeth flashing in the dim light. "Do you understand, kid? This is what happens when you corner humans. We turn every weakness into a weapon. We take the impossible, and we make it possible." The scientist leaned over her console, her eyes sharp. "They think strength is only in numbers. But our strength is in creativity, in defiance, in unity." The recruit nodded slowly, his fear fading. For the first time, he believed. Above Earth, another alien frigate exploded. Human missiles and lasers tore through its shields. The pieces burned as they fell into the atmosphere, raining down like meteors. On the ground, crowds pointed at the sky, shouting with joy, "We can fight them! We can win!" In Paris, where churches had been filled with sobbing prayers, bells now rang for another reason. Not for surrender, but for hope. The alien commander watched in fury. Every tactic he used, the humans twisted into an advantage. His fleet was bleeding, and worse, his soldiers began to doubt. "Commander," one officer whispered nervously. Perhaps we underestimated them." The commander's eyes glowed with rage. "They are insects, nothing more." But deep in his heart, doubt crept in. In a small African village, an elder looked at the burning skies and spoke to his people. "They came as giants, but giants can fall. And when they fall, it is the small ones who bring them down." In Siberia, a commander lit another cigar, watching alien ships retreat from his region. "Let them come again," he muttered. "We'll break their teeth." In India, students controlling hacked drones cheered as their machines swarmed an alien patrol ship, exploding against its hull like angry bees. The ship fell, crashing into the countryside with a thunderous roar. Across the planet, the tide was turning. Slowly, painfully, but turning. The alien commander looked down at Earth and saw a world he thought was broken. Instead, he saw fire in every corner. Not just the fire of destruction, but the fire of resistance. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Fleet faced something they had never faced before. A species that refused to kneel. In the desert base, the scarred soldier raised his glass one more time. "To the turning tide," he said. The young recruit asked, "Is this the moment we win?" The soldier shook his head. "Not yet, kid. But this is the moment we stop losing." And outside, the night sky, once filled with fear, now glowed with burning alien ships. Proof that humanity was not done. The tide had turned. and the galaxy would never be the same again. The night sky burned with wreckage. Alien ships that once floated like gods now fell as broken giants. Some crashed into the oceans, sending waves across continents. Others burned in the upper atmosphere, streaking across the heavens like dying stars. The world watched. For the first time since the Galactic Fleet arrived, Earth was not silent with fear. It was alive with noise, cheers, shouts, and laughter. But the battle was not over. High above, the alien commander gripped his throne so tightly his claws cracked the metal. His officers hissed in fear. "Commander, we are losing too many ships. Their attacks are unpredictable. Their resistance, it is spreading." The commander snarled. "No, this planet will kneel. I will make them kneel." But his words no longer carried the same certainty. His pride had been wounded. His fleet, undefeated for centuries, was bleeding. He turned to his screens. Below, humans were still fighting. Not just soldiers, but civilians, farmers, teachers, children. Every human seemed to carry fire inside them. And that fire was spreading faster than any weapon. In New York, people stood on rooftops, cheering as another alien ship fell in flames. In Paris, church bells rang in victory, their sound rising over the smoke. In Africa, villagers danced around fires, chanting the words that had become Earth's cry. "We don't bow." The phrase shook the planet. It was no longer just defiance. It was a promise. Inside the desert base, the scarred soldier wiped the dust from his face. His body was tired, his hands bruised, but his eyes still shone with fire. "They're breaking," he whispered. The young recruit leaned forward, staring at the screens. "Do you mean we're winning?" The soldier gave a slow smile. "Not just winning, kid. We're teaching them a lesson." The scientist looked up from her console. "A lesson the whole galaxy will never forget." The alien commander gave his final order. "Retreat." The word tasted like poison in his mouth. His officers froze, shocked. Never before had the fleet been forced to pull back. But the order was clear. One by one, the great ships turned. Their engines lit the heavens as they fled from the planet they thought would break in a single day. Earth had survived. Silence followed. The smoke thinned. The fire in the skies faded. Humanity stood under a wounded sky, battered and scarred, but still standing. And then, something strange happened. On rooftops, in fields, in bunkers, people began to smile. It was not the smile of arrogance, not the smile of cruelty. It was the smile of survival, the quiet, dangerous smile of a species that had faced death and refused to bow. In a ruined street of Tokyo, a young girl looked up at the empty sky. Her face was dirty, her clothes torn, but her lips curved upward. "They thought we would cry," she whispered, "but we laugh instead." In the rubble of Berlin, a firefighter raised a wounded comrade and grinned. "We made them run." In Cairo, doctors stepped out of their makeshift tents, blood on their hands, exhaustion in their eyes. But when they saw the skies clear, they smiled too. Across the world, the same expression appeared. A single, unstoppable truth carried in a simple curve of the lips. The scarred soldier lit a cigarette and sat back, his face finally relaxing. "You see that?" he said to the young recruit. The recruit frowned. "See what?" The soldier pointed toward the nearest camera feed, where people in different cities were celebrating. "That smile, that's what terrifies them the most. Not our weapons, not our numbers, our smile. Because it means we're not afraid anymore." The scientist nodded. "And once fear is gone, nothing can stop us." The recruit finally smiled himself. For the first time, he understood. Far away, in the flagship fleeing into the void, the alien commander sat in silence. He stared at the blue planet behind him, his pride shattered. He had seen empires kneel. He had seen species beg. But these humans, they smiled. It was a small thing, a human thing. But it was more dangerous than any weapon. The commander lowered his head. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this species would rise. And one day, they would not just defend their world, they would take the stars. On Earth, the fires of battle slowly cooled. Cities were broken, but hearts were unbroken. Humanity had faced the Galactic Fleet, and humanity had not bowed. The galaxy would remember this night forever, the night when the strongest fleet met a fragile world, and that world grinned back. And in every corner of Earth, as people embraced, laughed, and looked toward the future, one truth shone brighter than the stars returning to the sky.